right? So for an array, we start it from the var keyword. We give the name and the colon. Then we use the array keyword over here. And then we have used 2 square brackets, like it shows here. And in between 2 square brackets, I have given a number, then 2 dots, then another number. Now this defines the first index, and this defines the last index, the very last number that we are going to have in the array. So it starts from a 0, goes up to 9. Then we use the keyword of. Then after, we are going to use the value integer. Right? So if you think about a normal variable definition, var x colon integer, all these things are there in the array definition. Right? All these things are there in the definition, right? You got var, you got the name, and you got a colon. And at the end, you have the data type of the array as they shows here. So the new part that will be added is from here to here. These are the new parts that they are newly added to the array definition, which defines that they are going to define an array, and this is the where it's going to start its index. This is where it's going to end its index. That's it. You are talking about -1. Yeah, -1. We are not going to talk it over here, that's it. But -1 can be used to indicate the last one, because the negative indexes are starting from here. We are not going to talk about that in this syllabus. Just for your information, just because you are asking. The last index, my negative index is -1. So this is -2, this is -3, this is -4. Likewise, it will go. Right. Are we clear with the definition, people? Yes, everyone? Are we clear with the definition? How this is being defined? Yeah, Udamya. It's like this, Udamya. First, we start from the var keyword. It is a must. Then we have to give any particular name according to the rules that we have learned. Then we have to put a colon. Then it is a must to have the array keyword, since we are defining an array. Then in between curly braces, I have to define 2 values separated from 2 dots. Right? So these 2 values will define, like according to this example, 0 will define what is the index that they are starting. That means මේ array එකේ පළවෙනි index එක කොතනද? And the 9 defines what will be the last index. And then the of keyword is must. And then the type of the array must be introduced. Is that clear, Udamya? Right. And people, since the indexes are going from 0 to 9, how many values that we can store inside this array? Udamya, not 8, Dua. Sashrika, your answer is correct. Dinaka, your answer is correct. We have 8 things. No, we have 10 things. Udamya, not 8. See, it's right over here. Starting from 0, goes up to 9. Means there are 10 boxes over here. Does it, you can't say below 10? Like you means like we can store just 1 or 2 or 3 or maximum up to 10. If you say so. Udamya, did you got the point? That we can store 10 items in this? Great. So the number of items that can be stored inside an array will determine the length of the array. That is why they have said the array length is 10. Okay. So can you all type me the definition of an array? The name of the array is X, which can contains 5 values in it. Right? Let's assume the index starts from 1, ends with 5. Type me the definition of that array. Array name is X. It can contains 5 values of integers. The starting index is 1, ending index is 5. Type me that. Yes, people? Okay, Dinelka, very good, very good. Mehara, very good. Chanuri, very good. Yeah. How it's going to be? If I'm going to type it, it's going to be var x colon array within square brackets 1.5 of integers. I'm sorry, integer. Then you must have a semicolon. Right? So this is the way that we are going to define an array. Okay, people, is that clear? Any doubts regarding this? All right, so let's write this down, people. Let's write it like this. You have the heading called arrays. There is a slight problem, Pudha. you can't say var integer semicolon x colon equal array 1 double dot 5. So like after the one, you can't say colon, you can't use colon equal as well, does it? Colon equal is the assignment operator. Assignment operators cannot be used for the definition, does it? Right? So in Pascal, you have to define it in the way that we have discussed. Got it, does it? Right. Okay, you can put the heading array. So after that, you can write this particular line as the content of it. Right, your heading is arrays, then you are writing this as the first point. Okay, are we done? Okay, let me know when you are done. Okay, moving forward, then the next heading will be defining a one-dimension array. And why it is called one-dimension array? We are just talking about an array, something like this. So this particular array is a one-dimensional one. There are something called two-dimensional arrays. Those are something like this. It has particular columns as well as rows. So it's two-dimensional likewise. Two-dimension arrays. And there are three-dimension arrays as well, where you can store the details as a cube. Right? Those are some advanced part, but you can have your values like this as well. Right? So in our syllabus, we are going to talk about this one-dimension array. Right? So defining a one-dimension array. So after that, you can write these stuffs. Let me highlight. Yeah, let's go with the this definition, people. Write the example, then I'm going to explain the example. So after the heading, write the example. I'm going to explain the example. All right. So let's explain the example. You can underline or highlight marks in the example and put an arrow and say name of the array. Right? Even it's over here, name of array. So you don't need to write it like using underscores. You can just write name of array or name of the array. Write name of the array. Then you can highlight this. Right? Then put a arrow and say right, put an arrow and say used to indicate the given name going to use as an array. Going to use as an array. Yeah, Denuka. You can write it like this. Indicates that the given name going to use as an array. Indicates that the given name going to use as an array. Then take an arrow from the 0 and say first index, as well as take an arrow from the 9 and say last index. Take an arrow from 0, or highlight the 0 and put an array, put an arrow and say first index, and highlight the 9, then put an array. Put an arrow and say the last index. And finally, you can highlight the integer and then you can say data type. Okay, are we done? Okay, people, once you are done that, you have to draw this particular diagram. This one. Right? Quickly draw that, people. All right, one is done. How about others? Is there anyone who is still drawing this? Okay, so let's move forward. The next thing that you are going to write is the, hold on, without talking about attributes of an array, let me see. Yeah, we'll do the, no, never mind. We'll go for it, right? So attributes an array, right? Have the heading attributes and an array. Then yeah, write this sentence. And then you have to have, after that you have to write this particular argument, or not the argument, actually the statement. You have to say var m colon array square brackets zero double dot 4 of integer, right? So this is going to be an example. So after that, you can draw the things that you see on the screen, right? So it will indicate what are the positional values that we can have on a particular array. Right? So the definition, then the example, which is this, then the diagram. This part is enough, people. In your textbook, there is another part below. You don't need to. You can draw the part that you can see on the screen. All right, people, are we done? Chanuri, the element means this particular one. So like the things that you are going to store inside these boxes or these places are called the elements, right? So indexes can be changed according to these two values. If you say it starts from 2 and ends with 6, so the first index is going to be M2, right? Instead of 0, it's going to be M2. This is M3. This is M4. This is M5 and this is M6. Likewise. So it depends on the value that you are going to provide over here, though. Right? So the first element means it is the first item, but the index, it can be a 0, it can be a 1, it can be a 2, or it can be any particular number according to the definition over here. Right. Okay. Yeah. So what Chanuri was asking is an important thing, right? According to this particular values that we are defining over here, we'll decide what are the values that they are going to take for the positions, right? So our definition goes from 0 to 4. That is why these things are named as M0, M1, M2, M3, and M4. If we define this as 2.6, still it has the ability of keeping 5 values or like 5 elements. But instead of M0, you are going to have M2 over here. This is going to be M3. This is going to be M4. This is going to be M5. And this is going to be M6. Right? So likewise, with the help of this range, we have the ability of changing the index value of the array that we are going to define. Is that clear, everyone? Okay, great. So let's move forward. Oh, let me clear the notations. Hold on a second. Yeah. Now we are trying to identify or like understand how we are going to assign values for the array, right? So it is nicely described from here, but the problem is the diagram that they have driven there is a small problem. So because of that, I'll show you a diagram that I created, which is over here. Yeah. So as you can see, from this particular statement, it defines an array. The name of the array is num, which the index is starting from a 0, goes until the 4th. So the values will be num0, num1, num2, num3, and num4, like the positional values. And at the beginning, the array is empty. There is nothing inside it. It's just, we are just creating the variable called num, which is an array, which has 5 empty positions. Then look at this. This says num square brackets 0 colon equals 45. That means we are asking the Pascal to put the value 45 inside the position num0. So num0 means what? The very first cell or the very first position of the array. So 45 will be filled out. And look at the second statement. It says num2 must be given with the value 36, as well as num4 must be given with the value 60. Right? We can write these kind of statements. We can separate two statements using a comma, and at the end we can use a semicolon. So it is a valid statement. So what they are doing is num2 means over here. So to that they will give 36, and num4 is over here. They are going to give 60 to that position. People, is it clear so far? Yes, people? Right, great. Okay, and the third line it says, assign, like take num4, the value of num4, add it with 15, and assign the value to num1. So num4 contains what? 60. 60 plus 15 means 75. They are asked to provide 75 to the variable or the position called num1. So num1 is over here. That means the 75 is going to be filled out over here. And in the last line, it says, take the value from num0, take the value from num2. That means they are taking 45 and 36, add them together, and assign the value to the place of num3. Num3 means here. So 45 num0, 36 num2 will give you 81 as a total. So 81 will be placed under the num3 position. So it's very easy. When you need to assign a value, refer the particular position of the array and use the assignment operator, then provide the value that you need to store. Simple as that. Is that clear, everyone? Yes, it is a must, Dinelka. There should be a semicolon. Thank you for reminding. Each and everyone has a semicolon, so you can write this down. Before that, let's write the heading. Let's say assigning values to an array. Assigning values to an array. Let me copy it so it will be easy for you to see in the yeah. I'll paste it over here. Yeah, so you can write this down. Assigning values to an array. So you can say, let us consider the integer array of this particular thing. Then you can write this down. Okay, are we done, people? Okay, let me know when you are done, people. Okay, one is done. How about others? Yes, is there anyone who is still writing? All right, so let's move forward. Now, after we assign in the values to an array like this, so we know, like referring the position in this manner, we can give some particular value to an array. Now, think about a situation that you are going to have 10 places, or like let's assume something larger than the 10. Let's assume that you have defined an array something like this. We are going to define an array like this: var x colon array. I'm taking 1 double dot 100 of integers. Integer actually, right? Okay. If something this has happened, this has type, how big the array is, what is the length of the array, people? Yes, Lamai? Yeah, Udamya, it's not 99 dua, it's 100. See, it is from 1 to 100 dua. Right? So starting from 1, it can label 100 boxes. So how we are going to determine the number of elements inside a array? You can see the difference, you calculate the difference, right? You calculate the difference and you add a 1. Got that, Udamya? Right. So now the problem is, when we are trying to assign values into this array, it will be a very tedious work for us to like write these kind of things. For write these kind of statements for each and every element position. So literally, if we only have this kind of way to add the values into an array, we have to start from x1 and must goes until x100, right? So that means we have to write 100 statements to add the elements into this, which will be a very tiring work for us, right? And in case if the array is going to be much bigger than that, if the index has going to if the index has gone from 1 to 1000, it will be a very tedious work for us to do, or like for us to fill the values into the particular array. So on such cases, we can arrange the values to be input into an array using an iterative structure, right? So to do that, we can easily use the the structure called for in case of filling the array values into it, right? So how we are going to do this to fill the places of the array using a for loop, right? So the way they have described it, staying over here, yeah, not with this example, people. So I'll go with the charm Pascal. Yeah, so let's assume, I think you can stay for 5 minutes because we have started the session a little bit late today, people, right? So stay with me for this 5 to 6 minutes. So I'm going to start a program. I name it as Pro1. And input and output will be there. Right, and in the variable section, I am defining variable. I take my array as a colon array. Within square brackets, I tell I am just taking only 5 elements of integer, right? And inside the begin and end, I'm going to start a for loop. So I need a for do loop with a begin and end. So I take for x colon equal, I start my x by 1, then goes until 5. Why I am taking my x starting from 1? Because my array index starts from 1. Why I am reaching to 5? Because my array index ends from 5. Right? And of course, I need to define x, otherwise it will give me an error. So I say x colon as an integer. Right? So why I am taking this begin and end block? Because I'm going to have 2 statements inside the for block. So when a particular structure is going to have more than 1 statement, we need a begin and end block. Right? So inside this, I'm going to ask value from the user. Right? So I'm going to say write ln enter a value. So once the user seen this, he will enter it. And the important part is the reading part. Now I need to read this value into the first position of my array. So generally I can give to indicate the first position of the array by doing what? By saying x square brackets 1. If I say read it to the x1, that means whatever the value which is given to the given by the user is read to the or is saved to the first position of the x. But the problem is we are going to read this thing. If we are going to read this thing, or like if you are going to code it like this by saying x1, then according to the code that we have written here, whatever the value that the user is going to enter, all 5 iterations, the maker passarek iterate one, that means he is going to see the iterations for 5 times. Right? This enter value for 5 times. So he will enter 5 values. So all those 5 values will be read onto the x1. Right? So that means we need to change this value accordingly. In the first iteration, this need to be filled with the first position. In the second iteration, this need to be filled with the second position of the array. So what should be the change that I need to do? Yes, people? What should be the change that I need to do over here? Yeah, this actually this is not x, this should be a, people. Array is going to be this. So what should be the change that I need to do? instead of A1, how should I tell, take the first value for the first position, second value to the second position? Or in other words, this value needs to be changed in it. At the first iteration, it should be 1. At the second iteration, it should be 2. In the third iteration, it should be 3. And who is changing from 1 to 5 in this program per iteration? Very good, Dinelka. It's the X. It's the X that is changing. So in the first iteration, value of X is 1. In the second iteration, value of X is 2. So if I put X over here, then in the first iteration, this indicates A1. So the value that is given will be read on to the A1. In the second iteration, X indicates 2. So this indicates A2. So the second value will be taken to the A2. Likewise, when it goes for 3, 4, and 5, those values will be stored for the A3, A4, and A5. So the positions of the array is filled with the values which is given by the user. People, is that clear? Okay. Then how we are going to retrieve the values of the array? For the retrieval, I can use a similar kind of a for loop to do the retrieval part. How I'm going to use a similar kind of for loop? It's like this. Now, from here, I'm entering value to the variable, the array A. And from here, from this for loop, I'm going to say, write ln. I'm going to write a simple one, write ln. If I say AX, I don't need a read. So what this will done, but this can be done. It's going to write me in the first iteration, it will write the value of A1 on the screen. And the second iteration, it will write the value of A2 in the screen. Third iteration, it will write the value of A3 on the screen. Is that clear? Everyone, is that clear? Okay. So if I add a write ln to this to indicate displaying the values in the array, right? And I'm adding 2 read lns, that is for the charm Pascal sake. You don't need to write it when you are writing the codes. Then I'm going to run this. Oh, there is a small adjustment that I need to do. Because since there is only one statement, I only need this particular one. Okay. Oh. Oh, I don't need this. Right, so let me run this. Look at what happens. So it is asking for a value. I'm going to give 10. So it will be stored to as the first value, 20 as the second value, 30 as the third value, 40 as the fourth value, 50 as the fifth value. So once after I press the enter, it's going to show me 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50 again, because those are the values that I have entered into the array. See, so after saying displaying the value in the array, so it displays 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. That means this is X1, this is A1, A2, A3, A4, and A5. People, is that clear? Right. Okay. All right. So let's write about this when we meet next week. So most probably by next week, we will be able to finish up with the Pascal coding parts. Right. So there will be a very small theory part. I'm going to give you a note regarding that. So I will send you the note so you can print it out or you can put in a device and refer that. Right. So by next week, we are trying to put it to an end of the Pascal coding. Right. All right, people. So thank you very much for today. I'm going to end the session from here. Recording will be there in the website for you to refer. So I'll see you on next week for the very same time. Right. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a very nice weekend. Right. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much.